Welcome back, everyone. You're listening to WSB Stony Brook. We just recently finished listening to Dangerkids' newest album, Blacklist. I'm joined by one of the members now. We're going to be talking a bit about the release, as well as some general stuff, and just the whole kind of business of being in the music industry, I guess. Anyway, how about you introduce yourself, tell us what part of the band you are in, and give us a brief history of Dangerkids.
Yeah, absolutely. Hi, everybody. My name is Tyler. I am one of the two vocalists in Dangerkids. I do a lot of the singing and the rapping and stuff, as well as a lot of the songwriting and stuff like that. And Dangerkids, man, kind of happened by accident, honestly, Kyle. It was just me and some friends of mine, and we were just sort of creating music for fun. And this is actually coming off of years of like touring in different bands, mostly unsuccessfully.
So you were in different groups throughout, kind of? As I know you produce and mix.
Yeah, so that sort of came about like around the same time. I just wanted to keep creating music, and since our other bands were basically coming to an end and we were sitting at home, I was just teaching myself to record, teaching myself to write better songs. And then we made a few songs that ended up becoming Dangerkids, but for fun, just a friend and I. And then we sort of put a band together around it. And our original goal was just to have like an online presence, like a social media presence, but we were never going to play shows or anything like that. So that's why I volunteered to rap.
Sometimes
and
that
stuff.
just happens, just for example, Chunk No Captain Chunk, right? Just that whole band was a whole joke, right? Now they're freaking selling out places. God knows how many fans now, playing Warped Tour, all of that stuff, and it was even a serious project. It's funny how things like that can transform into like something big, like Dangerkids, like those types of things.
I totally agree, and I feel like I understand why now after being on both sides, because before, even when I was signed, I was focused on what should I write to grow my band, what is radio going to like, what are fans going to like, and never had anything that I would consider success. And then with Dangerkids, I think it worked out because we were genuinely creating music that we liked.
Too.
Yeah, well, we were having fun. Like, we were creating music just because it was fun. And you'd be surprised, if you enjoy it, other people enjoy it too. So there's Chunk No Captain Chunk sitting around, just messing around, writing songs that they were just like, whatever, let's just try this because we're not being serious. But what you end up with is a far more genuine sounding piece of music, And so it's cool. I really think that it did happen by happy accident, I guess.
I think it's funny because the sound you created was probably one of the first implemented kind of, I want to say quote unquote new metalcore instead of new metalcore, rapcore, whatever you want to call it. Before 2012 or whatever, the first single 2013 that Rise Records released, I think Hostage was the first single. I haven't heard a heavy quote unquote Linkin Park or just that type of genre. Just specified for metalcore or just that heavier side.
Yeah, that's why, I don't know, we were trying to offer something that we felt was missing, and we were such a big fan of all the bands like Linkin Park and several others that we grew up listening to, and we were like, dude, how cool would it be if, what would that sound like today? What would that sound like in 2017 and 2018? And so we were exactly what you were saying, just trying to make a modern throwback sound.
And it's crazy because ever since then, just everywhere, just seeing hacktivists, just all these different rapcore just popping out of nowhere. It's crazy.
Yeah, I'm glad that you see that, because at the time we really were the only band. I mean, I'm pretty, I have my ear to the ground, even with local bands in different areas, and we were it, man. We were the only one. From Ashes to New didn't exist, and Siler wasn't doing their thing. I mean, if they were keeping it under wraps. But I felt like we helped, at least in some small way, bring that sound back. Not like it was ever gone or we invented it, but I felt like we were one of the first to get thrust into the spotlight a little bit for having that sound.
So since you're here by yourself, let's just talk a bit about you. So when did you start in the music industry, mixing, producing, writing?
Ooh, that's a good question. I mean, I don't know what you would consider the music industry. I've always been working.
Or just generally making music?
Sure, I made music. I mean, since I don't know, probably since I was 13. But I didn't actually record music, with the exception of a few like joking rap songs, I guess, which is ironic now. But like my first band song I recorded was probably 2006 or 2007. So and it started out like I just moved out and I had applied to all these jobs on the street and nowhere would hire me, and I was always recording for fun. And then I had a friend that was like, "I'll give you $50 if you like demo this stuff for me," and I was like, "Okay." I had no idea what I was doing.
So you were more
and it
self-taught
just led
in like producing and mixing and mastering. It wasn't like you went to school, learned all this bunch of stuff, what they have like now in college.
No, it wasn't like that. I went to school, but I studied something very different. I wish that they had some type of program like that, like audio engineering at my school, but they had one class. But by the time I took that class, it was like a joke. I mean, I just took it just to see what it was all about. And I'm not beyond the idea that, I'm sure I learned things too in the class, but just the workload in general, like the whole class was based around recording a song. And the final project was you had to turn in a song, and I like turned in an album, and I was like, just pick a song and grade it, and like, but I did want to learn, and I still lack that formal education. I just read a lot online, and I mean, but I still don't think that's any substitute for like being taught from the ground up. So I do feel like there's something gained in teaching yourself, and then also something lost. And
yeah,
I don't know.
I mean, just like
I understand both routes.
That, like, you wouldn't notice that you could probably, learn from college or whatnot. I don't even know.
Yeah, or even just like saved me some time, like through all the trial and error.
Yeah,
because
definitely.
a lot of people try to start with like really complex things, and some people just want to be creative, and that's how I started out. I really wanted to be a songwriter. I just wanted to write songs, and so I didn't care what my drums sounded like or what my guitar sounded like. They just had to like, as long as I could tell what was going on, then I was happy. And I think that's where most people start out, and then they slowly get better and more interested in how do I make this sound better and how do I do this. And these days there's a lot of plugins and a lot of things that automate a lot of really difficult processes that didn't exist when I started. So I do still feel like I have a little bit of a grassroots education just because I started like 10 years ago.
So started 10 years ago compared to today, you're huger, you're involved in so much more stuff. And I think it was really cool that you started this whole email thing where you can actually help out upcoming musicians. What inspired you to do this, and how has it been working?
It's been really cool. There's two layers to that. It's called Last Band Standing, and you can go to lastbandstanding.co if you guys want and check it out. But essentially, right now, it is a very simple interface that just emails between me and different bands or different creative people, even like people aspiring to manage bands or book bands. And I just want to help people, even in small ways, even if it's just answering a few questions that I wish people had done for me. I have a much more long-term goal of that, and it really came about from me and my friend who is also a producer. His name's Joey Sturgis, and we were sitting down and we were thinking about exactly what you said, like that we've been doing this for 10 plus years and how different things are now and how much we know. And imagine, if you could go back in time and tell yourself this thing. So we tried to set up a basic way for people to communicate with us. And so that's cool. But ultimately we want to take the answers that people have been giving us and share them with everyone so that like, it's not just like a one-on-one thing, not only a one-on-one thing, but also whatever question you asked,
goes to like,
here's the answer, and I'll explain it in a million different ways, and anyone can access that. So that's what we're working on right now. I still think it's a little ways away, but Joey was here a few months ago, and he stayed here for like 5 weeks, and we just worked at it, like chugged away at it.
I think it's like a bigger resource now than ever, especially kind of like the overpopulation of bands just locally, like everywhere. So it's kind of a foot race now. So you got like
and
learn.
people are just fumbling through, man. Like, because that's how we did it too. But we can help those people.
So let's talk about Danger Kids now. All right. We
Okay.
talked about how it formed earlier. So we talked about how it turned into that type of genre. Kind of answered a couple of my questions, right?
Oh, that's okay. I mean,
so let's just talk about the whole record label situation. First, you were on Rise, and I don't even know what happened. You guys, I guess I don't even like. After the first album, you left and you went to Paid Vacation Records. What led you guys to that decision?
Okay, it was a lot of things, but it was also a very long, slow process. Like, the truth is our contract with Rise was only for one record, and they offered to re-sign us again, and we actually, we had a really great experience with Rise, and I have nothing bad to say about them. In a lot of ways, I'm very grateful because I feel like they gave us our break and they gave us our first chance as a label. And so I'm like forever grateful for that. But when it came time professionally, we had to sit down and think, okay, so we started out as a joke. Then we became a band, or not a joke, but we were just having fun, right? Started out just having fun, never going to play shows. Then we toured, and then we did Australia, and then we did Japan, and then we did Warped Tour, and then we did Europe, and then we
Everything.
did, like just all these the opposite of what we thought we were doing. We thought we were just going to stay at home, put some songs up online. So we were like, what's next? If we can do that with 10 songs with one album, then what's going to happen on this next album cycle? And so really we had to think long and hard about what we wanted out of it, like where we saw ourselves going creatively and where we saw ourselves going in our career. And we wanted to make the most of it. And ultimately it just came down to, we had offers from all sorts of labels. I won't say which, but we had a really successful first record. So being free agents immediately after that made us a lot more desirable. It's kind of like being an unsigned band with a following that's toured the world and sold a bunch of CDs already. You know what I mean? So it's a really good position to be in as a band. And I'm thankful our management is who set all that up for us.
So talking about becoming pretty much a band, you had all this just quoting from your Facebook bio, whatever you had in online. We had time to become a band. We had time to sit down, develop the strings, and find out what works for us. So what do you feel were those weaknesses that you had in the beginning that you improved upon?
Well, mostly us personally. I think we were really short-sighted with everything. Everything was, we weren't thinking like years down the road or long-term. Like everything was, what's the next tour and how is it? Let's make it the biggest tour ever. But we weren't thinking about like the actual overall growth of the band, the message that we're sending by the tours that we play or the music we put out or the career moves we make. Like, for example, we always wanted to be on the radio.
Well,
a few years ago, yeah, I know. but a lot of that had to do with us sitting down and making these tough decisions because even if we want it, it's not guaranteed. So all we can do is set ourselves up for success. And with radio and with a lot of things, it's risk. There's a huge risk involved. So we had to decide, hey, do we, for example, go with Rise, who we know what we're going to get? They're a great label. They already love us. Or do we roll the dice? And like ultimately, we wanted to be able to live with ourselves at the end of the day, win or lose. And I think the only way to do that is to jump. It's like to take the risk. So that win or lose, when it's all said and done, you know that you went for it. And you succeeded or you went for it and you failed, but you'll never have that what if. You'll never be wondering, what if we had gone for it? Man, it might have been different. You know what I mean? And so for us, it was like play it safe or roll the dice. And so we were like, hell no, man. Oh, sorry, excuse me. We were like, let's roll the dice. So it's paying off really well right now. I mean, just
recently, you guys got on tour with Motionless in White, Issues, Falling in Reverse, and just like looking at all the Facebook videos, the pictures, like you guys were the fifth band, or I believe so, like the 4 out of 5 or 5 out of 6, I forgot. But you got beginning the show, the whole place is full. Usually. You see venues take forever to fill up because all those people show up for that last band. But seeing those videos again, whole place sold out. Everyone's in there watching you guys. So what is that like, playing all the new music and pretty much sharing that to like a whole gigantic audience on that tour?
Man, it's great, and that's what we were accounting for. Like, not necessarily the big shows, but the idea that we need to understand that, like, every day we're going to make new fans. And I would say that the majority of the crowds there were like, holy crap, I've never heard of you guys before, but you guys are amazing. And that's what you never account for. You know, you have that short-sighted thing where you just read the comments that you get. You know what I mean? You don't think about the comments that you haven't gotten yet from the fans that don't know you exist yet. So, like, to play those shows with so many great bands was amazing. And then to feel like we got a lot of attention. I mean, you're sort of like competing with those bands in a way, and those are 3 headlining bands like that we all look up to a lot. So the response was amazing, and that's where we saw this new album going. That's where we saw these songs. They demand that stage, you know. It's like dressing for the job you want to have. We wrote songs for a big stage, and then we were very lucky and got to do it right off the bat. I mean, I don't know what is going to be next. It's always a growing process, but that was even just amazing.
Like these shows too, just watching, like when you guys came here twice to Amityville Music Hall, like the first time and even the second time, place is packed. As you guys as the headliners, you guys being able to draw out these crowds, out these local places across the country, you know, even with not playing with like Motionless in White, Issues, all those bands, you know.
Yeah, it's a good look, and it's a new audience. Like, we're not as heavy as Motionless in a lot of ways, and we're not as poppy as Falling in Reverse in a lot of ways, but we offered our own thing, and I think that was the end goal, is to not be like a worse version of Motionless in White, but to just be a different band, you know, like offering something different. And I think people got that. I think that was our biggest fear, is like that we would leave there feeling like a discount version of one of the headlining bands. When we feel like in our bones, we're very fundamentally different. And so we sort of built the whole show around that. Like, how do we set ourselves apart? How do we show that we have our own sound too? And it went over well, man. I'm ready. We feel the most prepared that we ever have. So I'm very anxious about everything coming up, and I just hope it continues to go well.
So let's start talking about the album Blacklist now. So you named the album because of the journey the band spent over the last couple of years. Were there any other names in the running that you want to call this album?
There are, but I'm afraid to like divulge them in the off chance that I end up using them at a later date. But I have an abundance of ideas. Like, I'm nothing but a ball of ideas and music. That's fair enough. Like just what I bring to the table. I think that's an excellent question, because I would want to know that for just about every artist that I like. But
yeah, that's why it's really interesting just to hear just an artist's interpretation of the artwork or just the album name, because it represents the whole project, especially when we live in a day where people just focus on singles.
Yeah, totally. I mean, the artwork was by design. I mean, we Blacklist was supposed to be darker. It was supposed to be about opposition, and just like in any industry, like not just the clickiness of the industry or the he said, she said, and representative of us deciding to sort of go off the beaten path the way that we did, like with our record label, with our sound, and like even with things like trying to push to be on radio and stuff. You alienate yourself to certain fans or to certain industry people, and it's we just hate the politics of it. And so a lot of Blacklist is addressing our frustration with the politics of the music industry and the politics of anyone that would seek to, like, you know, stand in your way. And so the artwork was supposed to be, we always envisioned it being like this redacted information, like you give something and then you take it back, like scratched out. And we ended up symbolizing that instead by just pulling letters out of the words. And I always thought that was like
I was like, oh, they probably just did that for just cool, just whatever
No,
reason.
I mean, we thought it looked iconic, and I mean, I can't think of one artist that has a logo that doesn't even have all the letters of their name in it. I just thought that was kind of a baller move, but it is complementary to the aesthetic. It's like that idea of giving something and then taking a little piece back. It's like that everyone, I don't know, man, everyone wants something out of you, and if you give it all up, who are you? And I know that no one will ever get that from the artwork, but that is very much the message of the album, the song itself. Yeah, I mean, that's why the whole thing is, we're not through till we say it's over. No, I'm just a little bit colder, and do you have what it takes to take us on, and all those lyrics, and so, it's very direct.
Oh yeah, definitely. What is your favorite song off the release? I know this is probably going to be a really difficult question. Usually,
it's hard. I mean, because they're all different. But I would say that "Kill Everything" is my favorite, but only because usually I would vie for a super deeper track. I mean, there's a lot more.
What? Hello? Oh. Uh-oh. Technical difficulties. Let me call him back. So let's call. Sorry about that, folks. All right, can you... Yeah, for some reason it just cut off.
That's okay. Yeah. All I was gonna say is I don't want to just take heat in all the deep emotional things. I also think it's cool to write a song that you just want to nod your head to, and I realized that a lot of the bands that I loved growing up, there's just as much to say about an emotional song that makes you think as there is a song that makes you nod your head and sort of forget about the world for a while,
I could say for myself, just throughout the album, just the breakdowns, just pure perfection, especially.
Sure. Man, thank you.
Which song?
I do have a favorite breakdown, but I feel like you're thinking of things to be different.
Where it just went all electronic, technical.
Yeah. My goal there was chaos. I don't know what you get out of it, but I was trying to make it just be chaos.
All right, so how does the whole band write pretty much each song by song, I guess?
I think it varies, but a lot of times it starts with I'll come up with a musical concept and then run it by the band then sort of tweak it from there.
Is it more jam type thing, or is it just piece by piece by piece?
It's probably a healthy mix. I mean, I personally write on the computer, but then there's Alex, who plays guitar in the band. He is just one of those people who you can put a guitar in his hands, and me as a songwriter, everything he plays, I can turn into a song, and I'll be like, oh my gosh, play that again, and he won't remember what he played. You know what I mean? Because he's a jam person. He can just make up things on the spot. And so him and I work really well together because I'm very calculated and meticulous, and he's very lets his creative juices just take him somewhere, And so when you put those things together, that's why I'm the guy that records it and stuff. Yeah, but he'll come up with these riffs and these things where I'm like, oh my gosh, dude, that's incredible.
So did you take a different approach while producing this release as compared to Collapse?
Yeah, this time I knew that I was going to produce it. So the last time with Collapse, we were just a local band just having fun. And then those songs ended up becoming the final versions of the songs. So in a mad scramble, I had my friend, again, Joey Sturgis, mix it and master it for me to sort of bring it up to speed. But I wasn't all that talented, and I didn't realize at the time, that it was going to be released and that people were going to hear it and stuff like that. So this time around, I I felt like, I know that we're a band. I know we're Danger Kids. I know where I want to take this musically, and now I know that people are going to hear it and it's going to come out. So I did it 100% myself, and I think that result is the difference between the two albums that you hear sonically.
So we kind of talked about it. There was this whole length of time between Collapse and Blacklist. I think 3.5 years, 4 years.
Yeah, too much.
Too
long.
So do you feel all that time was how do I say it? Was there any disbenefit towards being it so long, towards like the writing process and producing it, like just like overthinking parts, or
Yeah, no, like I don't really believe in spending a whole lot of time on things, like an ungodly amount of time, because I think that some of the best songs happen immediately, and I think that some of the best recordings happen in the scratch takes, like not in the real takes. Like I can't tell you how many times I would go back. Yeah, in the moment, totally. Because you're feeling it, and you can't replace that 4 a.m. feeling when like you come up with this awesome lyric and you deliver it. And there's so many times on the CD where what you're hearing is actually the scratch takes that I was just like, oh, I'm going to lay this down really quick because I don't want to forget it. And then I would go back later and re-record it with all my might. And it didn't matter, man. It didn't sound good. Like, the original was way better.
It's weird how that happens. Just, like, even, like, by mistake, just, like, emotions get involved or whatnot, and just ends up being a better take.
Yeah, and I think that that's true with the whole song as well. Like, that's why I think it's important. You can have a song that's really thoughtful and very thought out, but I think you also need to have a song that you don't overthink too much. You just let it be and let it go. And so that's why I like Kill Everything so much, because it was the first time that I ever just wrote a song that made me nod my head, and the lyrics aren't super deep. I mean, I still think they have the Danger Kids like twist on them, but the whole thing is, so tell me what you think about that. Like, come get some. Like, you don't want to mess with me. I came up with this metaphor of us being like the living dead because it took us so long to come back. So
yeah,
I was like, you can't kill the living dead. So that's why the chorus is, you don't want to wake the dead and stuff. And I just thought that was really cool.
I was going to ask this before in a little bit, but for the music video, right? Was the idea to make kind of a video, a prequel to the song? Kind of. I don't know if that makes sense. In the sense of being like facing oppression, like to its dire end, yes. I mean, it's like it doesn't get any more oppressed than like a gun to your face. You know what I mean? And so we were trying to like send the message of, because truthfully, Kill Everything doesn't literally, it has two meanings for me personally. It's kill everything, like literally I'm about to kill this, I'm about to kill everything, like we're gonna go hard on this album. And it also has like the dual meaning of, we ourselves had to kill our doubts and kill our fears and kill our anxiety and kill our, any type of oppression that we were feeling. It's almost like that same concept as destroy yourself and start again. It's like, we're coming back a new band. You can't kill, you don't want to wake the dead, man. Like, you know what I mean? So I had this whole running theme throughout the album of like, I know that it's been 3.5 years and I'm ready to come back full force. And so for us, it had both meanings. But we tried a more complex concept for the video. Actually, and with that, you saying that, now I noticed that like the lyrically wise, because there's like lots of kind of like deathish metaphorism, Ghost in the Wall.
Yeah.
Like, I think it was Summoner's Rift. It was with
there's a lot in that one too. That's a pretty angry song.
And Glass on Water. That was it. That was what I was thinking.
Yeah, you'll start to hear more and more of that. But really, at the time, I was inspired by our journey as a band and just what we had gone through and what we had put up with, and like even to just get to the spot that we're at now, which to me is like we are at the edge of the beginning of a really good career. And so like we're going to go through it more and more and more, and we need to ready ourselves and steady our hands and stuff. So I wanted to.
So talking about how you're representing that through all the songs, what is the message that you're trying to give to the people that are listening? Just in the song Ghosts in the Walls, you have the lyrics, and take a look at music now. It's kind of ironic because they rather sell your disc than sell the message that's on it. So what is the message that you're selling to people on this release?
I just get frustrated with a lot of things about the industry, just like you would any job or any industry. There's like, you want it to be its purest form. You know, you want it to be art and you want it to be creative. And it's fine that we all borrow from each other and we all sound similar and stuff. But I do think that there's certain people and certain labels and certain fans even and certain other bands that don't understand that concept of like, I understand that it's a business.
If you know what the story I'm thinking of, it happened like a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, that like blew up.
Oh, what is it? I'm not sure.
The trap situation.
Oh, right. I mean, that's not, that was actually just us sticking up for, our friends and stuff. So like we, we're not going to roll through town and tell a local band that they can't sell merch at their own show. And, they're just, and then they started, trying to fight our friends basically and harassing his girlfriend and stuff. And so I don't know. I'm a man. Andy's a man. We're going to call you out on that stuff. So we did. And he didn't take it very well. And that's fine. It's, most people that get busted don't take it very well. It's like, you got caught being a dick. Like, it is what it is. So, but I mean, it's not necessarily that. It's just that like you want to get back to that place where you're just a kid in a basement creating music because you love it. Do you know what I'm saying? Mm. And I guess that's what I'm talking about. There's certain labels that that this will always be a business to them, and there's certain bands that this will always be a business. It will always be about how do I get fans to buy stuff? How do I get more people to think I'm cool? And I despise all of that. And so that's really what I was getting at, where I was just like, I will gladly lose friends over this and over saying this if I know that I'm standing up for like what I think is the truer form, which is just art, like music for the sake of music, like something that helps, lyrics that touch someone, and a song that you carry with you for your whole life that'll outlive me. And I just wanted to address that in 30 seconds somehow. And I did. That's what I came up with. That's actually my favorite rap that I've ever written, is the one in Ghosts in the Walls. I don't know. I was worried it was a little too hip hop sounding, but then to filter myself like that is to like be one of those people who like cares too much what other people think and stuff. So I wouldn't even be following my own lyrics. So I just loved it so much, and everyone else did in the band too. So I'm glad you noticed that, though. I love that rap.
So some of your lyrics I noticed in the following two songs, whatever it is, in Summoner's Rift, there's a line that goes, "Sometimes the softest silence is the loudest noise." So what was the idea that you were trying to express with that?
I mean, nothing too specific, just subtleties, man. Like sometimes less is more. Sometimes you can say a lot by literally saying nothing or very little. And I think even like the song Invincible Summer is like such a heartfelt song and everyone loves it, and they feel it. But at the end of the day, it's literally, I recorded it with a $90 acoustic guitar, and that's it. And there's no like typical Tyler production. There's not like 1,000 synths, and there's not all this craziness. It's just a good song, man. And so I need to, that's still advice that I struggle with all the time, that trying to find that sweet spot of just, saying just the right amount. And
was there any hesitation to put that track on this release? Especially being out of the norm of the sound?
I think it was out of the norm, but we were curious ourselves.
Because I had no clue, but I just get to the last track, I just hear acoustic, I was like, wait a second, it's like, is this still the album?
Yeah, I mean, I wanted to shock people a little bit at different times in the album, but I also we did have a lot of anxiety over putting Unmade on the first album, and we did have a lot of trouble with that. But once that went through and we realized that people loved it because it was different instead of hated it because it was different, we felt a lot more comfortable this time around doing a track like Invincible Summer.
So, what is some things that you want to experiment more with on a future release, fan?
That's a great
Probably
question, man.
everything.
I really don't. A little bit of everything, yeah. I mean, I don't know that it's so decisive for me. I would like to. I This time around, I tried singing more. I mean, I rap as well, but I tried
Mm.
giving because Andy did, I think, all of the singing almost on the first record, and I don't know. I just want to push ourselves creatively into places that we aren't comfortable with, and then sort of box our ways out of it until it becomes a Danger Kid song. Like that's my whole method is sort of just taking whatever we do and turning it on its head. So I would love to just continue, get more crazy and more heavy and more beautiful and all at once. I think that would be a victory for me if I could do that.
So that's all the questions that I got for you. Before we
Okay.
kind of end, what are some future plans that you have for Danger Kids in the next year or so?
Well, I would love to continue to do radio stuff. Like this is awesome, and I would love to. I don't know, just keep pushing that direction. I want to do a headliner at some point again, and just reconnect with all of our like fans that we hung out with last May.
Hmm.
When we did it and stuff, and so I'm hoping that we end up doing something like that this year. And then ultimately, I want to not make the wait for album three so long. I mean, I know that it won't be that long because we're in a really good situation now, and a lot of
Mm.
the things that were hanging us up before don't exist anymore. But I would love to really dig my teeth into songs for the third album so that people don't have to wait so long. Like in a perfect world, I would put it out next year. You know what I'm saying?
Mm.
Like just a year from now or something would be incredible. But I know that's a little bit of wishful thinking, but I think we could do something like that. So really, just keep moving forward, and connecting with the people that support us, and continue to do things like this.
Well, I want to thank you for spending a whole lot of time actually just sitting down, just talking about the release, your life in the industry. Um,
Yeah,
Definitely
of course, no
keep me
problem.
up to date with releases if you ever have new singles or whatnot in the future. If you're ever in New York and want to try do something on campus or whatnot, we'll see.
Yeah, oh, that'd be so cool.
Well, that's about it. Uh, Again, thanks. For the listeners now, stay tuned. I'm going to be interviewing local metalcore post-hardcore act I Dreamt the Sea. I'm going to be playing two songs off their newest split EP with Funeral Tire, and probably one of their other songs from their other releases. So sit back, relax, and listen to more music, and enjoy the rest of the show.